Good day everyone, Grumbles here with another DCS Harrier video. And today I want to take a look at some of the AV-8B's capabilities in night fighting. After all, our version we have in DCS is specifically called the night attack version. In this mission we use the NAVFLIR and IR-guided Maverick missiles, of which we have 4 on the plane. The Harrier can also carry the lightning targeting pod, which would further increase its night fighting capabilities and make using the Mavericks easier. However, in this case I want to use only the built-in tools of the Harrier in this mission, specifically the Harrier's NAVFLIR. Now, the NAVFLIR camera, the fixed forward-looking infrared, is mounted in the Harrier's nose above the ARPS camera and system. And later Harriers like the 2+ retain this tool, though on later ones the radar replaces the ARPS system. And in order to be used to fly and navigate better and also attack at night, it can be projected on the Harrier's HUD. The field of view and resolution it provides is pretty low, and it's hard to make out details at any kind of distance with this infrared camera. But it is still a very useful tool in night attacks and greatly increases the plane's ability in this kind of scenario, especially when flying at lower altitude. Make sure you have the HUD in night mode if you want to project the FLIR on the HUD, as it won't work in day mode. Now, since we are carrying more weapons and full fuel in this mission than we did in the previous video, we did a rolling takeoff of the Terrava, combining the lift of the wings with the angled engine nozzles. And now that we are off this boat, let's go over today's mission and how we go about accomplishing it. Our objective is an enemy defensive line located a bit northeast of Poti, at 2 road bridges and a railroad bridge crossing a river. 2 groups of mechanized infantry supported by Bradley infantry fighting vehicles are about to start their assault on that defensive line across the bridge and establish a beachhead on the other side. Intel suggests, however, that there are several T-72 main battle tanks located at the road between the 2 bridges, covering them. There are at least 2 tanks, maybe more, and the Bradleys would have a hard time dealing with them, so we are tasked to assist and take out as many as we can. Intel also suggests that there might be a SA-8 Gecko SAM at this location covering the bridge's defenders from air attacks. For this reason we carry 2 AGM-122 sidearm anti-radiation missiles to take that SA-8 out. Furthermore, there are several mobile anti-aircraft guns, however they are manually aimed and should not be much of a threat at night. Well, I selected my Mavericks to start their warm-up, and I have decided to approach the target from the southeast over land, while keeping a few hills between me and the target as I get closer to it. The idea behind this is that the range of my small AGM-122s is limited. They are just repurposed old sidewinders after all. Theoretically my AGM-122s should have the range to deal with the also older SA-8, but I don't want to take any chances here. I want to pop up close enough to make sure my sidearms are in range if the SA-8 is there. That is one of the situations where the NAVFLIR helps a lot, as it allows you to fly lower at night than would otherwise be safe and allows me to use the hills as cover. I also have my radar warning receiver displayed on my right MFD, as the Harrier does not have a dedicated small scope for it, like the A10 for example, to warn me about the SA-8 should its radar go active. Having the radar warning receiver on the multifunction display has up and downsides over having it on a dedicated little scope. On the large multifunction display it is easier to see details, but on the downside it is also taking up one of the MFDs, and during the attack I want to have both of them for different tasks. At the moment all I have on the radar warning receiver are the radars from the ships I started from, but now being close enough to the target I turn towards it and fly over the little hill line I used as cover, and pretty quickly after doing so the radar warning receiver warns me of a new threat. A little 8 pops up on the radar warning receiver screen indicating a SA-8 radar. The 8 does not have any other symbology around it yet, indicating that it is the Gecko search radar and no lock yet. Anyway, time to get the sidearms ready. They work similar to the Sidewinder they are based on. You hear a tone when they are active. If the tone changes pitch, it indicates that the missile sees a radar. If it changes pitch again, the sidearm aiming circle moves, it indicates a lock and you can fire. At first the sidearm doesn't see the SA-8, but then the SA-8 gets a lock, indicated by the symbology on the radar warning receiver, and activates its fire control radar. and that my little AGM-122 does see. It gets a lock of its own and I fire the missile. I'm pretty sure though that the SA-8 also fired since it got a lock, so I dive for the ground to evade. It's hard to judge distances and how fast the ground is coming up in this small field of view FLIR, so I don't fly quite as low as I would have liked in a situation like this, but it will have to do. The sidearm is of course a fire and forget missile, so you can maneuver as soon it is off the rails. Now I plan to quickly bob up and fire the second missile in case the first one doesn't do the job. I figure by now it should have hit, but I still have the SA-8 on my screen. As I bob up, I can see a smoke trail in the FLIR from the SA-8's missile, so the Gecko did indeed fire at me. However, it missed, either losing lock as I dove to the ground, or the missile hit the ground trying to go for a calculated intercept point below ground level as I descended. My own missile, on the other hand, did find its mark. The SA-8 symbology disappears from my radar warning receiver and I can see a fire, first in the FLIR and then as I pass over the target area to my left in the window. So the SA-8 is taken care of. Time to continue with the main mission. Thanks to our little duel with the SA-8, however, we got too close to the target area and are just now passing over it. And I want to fly a bit further away again, to have a few miles to look for targets and line up a shot with my Mavericks. Also, the Maverick missiles need time to get ready, a few minutes, and the last time I started their warm-up period I was interrupted, so I have to do that again and the missiles still need a few minutes. So I fly out over the sea a bit while my missiles warm up and to get enough distance for my first attack run. So here we are 2 minutes later and our Mavericks are ready to go. Now with the SA-8 taken out, I changed my right multifunction display from the radar warning receiver to the navigation display, as it shows waypoints and INS targets, and that helps in night attack when you look for targets. Now the infrared Mavericks have a narrow field of view, not much zoom, as well as a bad resolution. It's hard to find targets with them unless you already have the seeker somewhat close to where you want it. The Harrier's ground-stabilized ARBS camera can help us that, but it is a daylight camera and useless at night, and we don't have a targeting pod. So what I want to do is lock the rough area in INS mode. INS means inertial navigation, and it uses the plane's position plus angle from where you're pointing to lock a position on the ground using the HUD to aim. The Maverick Seeker will automatically slew to that INS lock, so I am looking for the bridges that indicate the target in the FLIR. That way the Maverick missiles, when I engage them, should point at the target area already. The forward-looking infrared camera's resolution is not all that great either, so it takes me a bit till I find what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 3 bridges over the river near waypoint 2. And when I have that location locked up, I can change to the Mavericks and look for the heat signature of the enemy vehicles with the zoomed view of the missiles themselves. Now waypoint 2 is my target waypoint, but it is not exactly on the target, so I still have to look around a bit. At first I was under the impression that the target area is a bit closer to the beach than it actually is, so I am looking in the wrong spot at first, but then scanning more upriver I eventually find the target and lock it up with the circle in the HUD. Now I can uncage the Maverick missiles and their seeker head is already slewed to that lock. I could now lock up another target in INS mode and the seeker would slew to that target, but we are in the right spot. I changed the Mavericks to narrow field of view to get a bit more zoom, which you have to do on the multifunction display, and look for the tanks. They're supposed to be on a road behind the bridges, between the 2 bridges, and there are indeed 3 heat signatures there, which has to be the target, though it is hard to identify that range. But since they are where the main target are supposed to be, we fire. Doing so unbalances the plane. The Harrier is very light and having 1 missile less on the wings makes a large difference, so I have to take a second to retrim the fighter before I can go back to seek another target with my second Maverick. As I slew the second missile to the left, I see the burning wreck of the SA-8 and another vehicle behind it. Now that we are close enough, I can ID the target and it looks like an anti-aircraft truck, and I want to take it out to get rid of the anti-air threat. Since the target is to my left, I change course to give the missile a better chance to hit and fire. The target is still a bit too much to my left and I worry the missile will miss because of that, but it seems that the missile did hit something. We have 3 things on fire in the target area, so that last Maverick did hit either the A truck or the local orphanage. Now, flying away from the target, I remember that we are indeed flying at night, and the AA truck with its manually aimed 23mm cannon would not have actually been a threat, but I'm just used to prioritizing AA threats. Anyway, we still have 2 more Mavericks, so we fly away again, to again have a few miles on the next attack run to scan and lock up targets. Now, turning towards the target the second time, we still have the INS lock from the first attack run, but since that lock was done from pretty far out and we are now coming from a different direction, this time it is not lining up with the target as well, and I'm too far to the right for the target and have to slew the missile over to the left. But there I can spot the burning wreck of the tank we took out in the first turn, as well as another one behind it, and get a lock on that one and fire. But this approach was not very good, too far to the right and too close, so we can't get a second missile off. We need a third run for that last missile we have on the rails. Now, since I noticed that our INS lock as well as our target waypoint are off, both too far to the east, I decide to unlock that spot and for the next and last attack run to get a new lock. I saw 3 targets on the road where our main targets are located. I assume all 3 are T-72s, and we have 1 more Maverick missile to take out the last one. The new INS lock is in line with the target again, although too far behind it, so should we approach from another direction it would also be offset to the side. Now I uncaged the Maverick and slew it towards the road that has the enemy tanks on it, but instead of 2 burning targets and 1 alive, I find 3 burning wrecks. I guess the Bradleys got bored and started their attack and took the last T-72 out with a tow. And indeed I can spot 3 new heat signatures that just are coming over the eastern bridge, which I assume are the Bradleys, so I scan for another target if there is one left. My Maverick locks onto something close to where I took out the SA-8, but I at first can't tell if it is a vehicle or if the Maverick wants to take out someone's outhouse. So I unlock again by slewing the Seeker to the side and try to ID the target. Taking a closer look, I can eventually ID another AA truck. Either the one I shot earlier wasn't taken out after all, or it's a different one. In either case, it's a target, so I lock it again and fire. Meanwhile, the Bradleys apparently kill something else, at least I see another explosion, and the last Maverick I fired hits its mark as well. Now, we are out of missiles and apparently also out of targets. I want to make sure though that the 3 heat signatures I saw coming over the bridge were indeed friendly Bradleys crossing the river, so I turn around and do a slow pass over them, close enough that I can identify them with the NAVFLIR. And they are indeed Bradleys. Well, mission accomplished. The Bradleys successfully crossed the bridge and established a beachhead on the other side. We took out 2 T-72s and 1 or 2 AA trucks, and the Bradleys killed the last T-72. So that's a look at the Harrier's built-in night fighting abilities. If the friendly units would have a laser to spot targets, the ARBS could have picked that up as well. Maybe we take a look at that in a later video, as well as the ARBS daylight camera and the targeting bot, though the targeting bot we already know from the A10C. Well, and this is it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and maybe I see you next time.